Hello, today I'm going to read Milly-Molly-Mandy Gets Up a Tree. And this story is by Joyce Lancaster Brisley. Once upon a time, Milly-Molly-Mandy saw a ladder leaning against the branch of a tree just past the duck pond at the corner of the village. It was a nice long ladder and a nice big branch and a nice green spreading tree. And Milly-Molly-Mandy thought how nice to climb the ladder and sit on the branch in the spreading tree and see how much she could see up there. So she climbed the ladder very carefully, and then she sat on the branch with the green leaves tickling her legs and flipping up and down on her hat. It was such a nice place. She could see right down the village street as far as the crossroads where the red bus was just passing. And she could see right up the white road with the hedges each side as far as the nice white cottage with a thatched roof where she lived with father and mother and grandpa and grandma and uncle and auntie. And she could see at one glance the whole of the duck pond where 3 ducks were waggling their tails and making gabbly sounds in the water with their beaks. Here's a few of those ducks she could see. Milly-Molly-Mandy wished she could stay up there all day, only she thought perhaps she'd better be getting down now. But she just waited until a cart had passed, and then she just waited until the grocer's boy had gone out of sight with his basket of groceries. And then she turned carefully to climb down the ladder again. But Milly-Molly-Mandy had never noticed that the man who left the ladder there had come and fetched it while the cart was rattling past, not dreaming that there was anyone up in the tree. She only saw that the ladder was absolutely gone. Milly-Molly-Mandy sat and held on and thought. It had felt so nice being up in the tree while she thought she could get down from it any minute. It was very funny, but it didn't feel a little bit nice directly she found she couldn't. And here's a picture of her up in the tree, looking surprised because she can't see the ladder. If I shouted as loud as ever I can, somebody might hear, thought Milly-Molly-Mandy, only I'd have to scream so loud they might think I was in trouble, and I'm not really. I only want to get down. So Milly-Molly-Mandy held on and thought some more. Somebody's sure to be going by soon, thought Milly-Molly-Mandy, and then I'll ask them please to help me down. So Milly-Molly-Mandy sat and tried to remember how nice the tree was before she found she couldn't get out of it. And while she was thinking that, she saw a nest on a branch with a little bird peeping out of it. "It's all right, Mrs. Bird," said Milly-Molly-Mandy. "I won't frighten you. I'm glad you're here to keep me company." And then she saw a little red ladybird on a leaf. "Hello, Mrs. Ladybird," said Milly-Molly-Mandy. "You don't mind being up in a tree, do you? I expect you like it quite a lot." And somehow the tree seemed nicer again. Presently a horse came slowly clip-clopping along from the crossroads, led by a man, and they walked down the village street, and Milly-Molly-Mandy got all ready to call out politely as soon as they came near enough. But the man turned off by the forge, and the horse clip-clopped after him to have some new shoes put on. Next, Milly-Molly-Mandy saw Mrs. Jakes, the postman's wife, come out into her backyard and hang up a towel. Milly-Molly-Mandy waved, but Mrs. Jakes didn't see her and went in and shut the door. Presently, Milly-Molly-Mandy saw old Mr. Hubble step out of his baker's shop and come walking along with his stick. Old Mr. Hubble always walked about all day, saying "Fine morning" to everybody he met. But when he met Milly-Molly-Mandy, he always pretended to give her a little poke with his stick, and it made Milly-Molly-Mandy feel rather shy, as she just didn't know quite what to answer to that. She just used to smile a bit and run as hard as she could on her way. So Milly-Molly-Mandy watched old Mr. Hubble and his stick coming along toward her down the street and wondered if he would see her. And when he didn't, she suddenly felt shy, thinking of his stick, and didn't want to call out as he went past, though a moment afterwards she wished she had, for she didn't really think he would poke her with his stick up there. Oh dear, thought Milly-Molly-Mandy, I must shout out to the next person who comes by. The next person who came in sight was a little girl in a white muslin frock who went into Miss Muggins's shop. Milly-Molly-Mandy had seen her before. She had just come to live at the big house with the green railings past the crossroads. Presently the little girl came out again with a little paper bag. Milly-Molly-Mandy wondered if it had raspberry drops or aniseed balls. She was rather a long way off, but Milly-Molly-Mandy thought she must try to shout loud enough to make her hear. But then she couldn't think what to shout. The little girl didn't look quite the sort of little girl you'd suddenly shout, "Hi!" to, and Milly-Molly-Mandy didn't want to call out, "Help!" but as if she were falling, and she didn't know the little girl's name. It was really quite awkward. And then the little girl popped something from the paper bag into her mouth and wandered down to look at the ducks. And when she got near, she suddenly saw Milly-Molly-Mandy up in the tree. The little girl stopped and looked at Milly-Molly-Mandy, and Milly-Molly-Mandy held on and looked at the little girl. And then the little girl said, "Can't you get down?" And this is the little girl that Milly-Molly-Mandy saw and spoke to. And Milly-Molly-Mandy said, "Oh, please, will you help get me down? I've been up here such a long time." So the little girl looked around, and then she ran back to Mr. Blunt's garden and beckoned someone to the palings. And then Billy Blunt's head looked over, and then the little girl explained what was the matter. And then Billy Blunt ran out of the garden into the corn shop, and then Mr. Blunt came out of the corn shop with a long ladder. And then he set the ladder under the tree and climbed up. And then he hoisted Milly-Molly-Mandy off the branch onto his shoulder and brought her safely down. And it was good to be on the ground once more. Milly-Molly-Mandy said, "Thank you very much," to Mr. Blunt and Billy Blunt, and then the little girl gave her a raspberry drop, and they talked. And then they had another raspberry drop, and the little girl said she had a summer house in her garden, and asked if Milly-Molly-Mandy would come and play in it with her that afternoon. So as soon as Milly-Molly-Mandy had finished dinner, Mother put a clean pink and white cotton frock on her, and she ran hoppity-skip all the way down to the village. And Milly-Molly-Mandy felt very glad indeed that she hadn't called out sooner, or she might never have been invited to play with the little girl at the big house with the iron railings. That's it for today. Hope I see you soon. Bye for now.